Alright, so we got the 385 spoilers, and this chapter is super significant because something is happening that I have personally been waiting for since I got into this series. Now, I didn't start from like the very beginning. I think it actually started 10 years ago, but this is more so like season 2 stuff, which is around like 7 years, 8 years in the manga maybe, but yeah, pretty exciting stuff, but we'll get into it. So the chapter begins with a map of the Gunga battle, showing everyone who's fighting, and the army of Twices. Mount Lady's weapon breaks, and Yui throws another at her, saying that it's a Detonarat item that was lying on the ground and she made it bigger with her quirk. So we saw a similar strategy being used in the previous chapters, and this unit taking on All For One here. Yui has the quirk, or should I say Yui from class 1B has the quirk where she can like increase the size of objects, or just non-living things, I'm pretty sure. So she was able to make things bigger, to give Mount Lady weapons. But in this chapter, we see her taking a Detonarat item. Detonarat is the company that Destro owned, the leader of the Paranormal Liberation Front. So it's probably like a powerful support item, but also it's kind of like, why don't the heroes have stuff like this too? Horikoshi never really fleshed that out too much, at least not outside of UA. But I assume that this is going to come back because Mount Lady really needs something. She is limited considering that all she can do is really get big. Both her and Tokoyami are panting, but they go for another attack. Hawks apologizes for only being there as a support, but Tokoyami says that his support is making Dark Shadow Balder stronger. That's when suddenly an attack hits Mount Lady's stomach. Mount Lady falls to the ground and everyone shouts her name. The next target is Makia, who's hit by a laser beam and falls while bleeding. All For One is heavily injured, but continues to heal. He says that the younger he gets, the harder it is to contain his urges. All For One looks worse than Shigaraki after being hit by the USA bombs. He has no skin and no legs, so that's pretty wild. I guess he looks even worse than what we're seeing here. Like Shigaraki pretty much looked like a corpse when he was taking on Star and Stripe after getting hit by those missiles. But they do have a similar set of quirks here, so it's understandable that All For One can come back from this or just exist in that state. Also, we saw in the previous chapter that Makia had like a sudden face turn. I don't know if he's completely face. I'm sure he will be by the end of the series, but he's certainly turned on All For One because he thinks that All For One abandoned him, which he did, but it was just a really abrupt change. But anyway, he's still attacking him here, but even Makia, probably the most durable character outside of the big, Shigaraki, All For One, and Izuku, probably the most durable, and even he can't stand up to these lasers. I can't see them on the page, but considering what they've been looking like lately with his aesthetic since he's gotten younger, I assume this is similar to the laser or whatever energy manipulation quirk that he was using against Nana back in the All Might Rising prequel. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. HelloFresh takes the hassle out of mealtime this spring by delivering pre-portioned ingredients and easy to prepare recipes right to your door. Skip the checkout lines and get outside in the warmer weather because HelloFresh has dinner covered. You're getting seasonal ingredients picked at peak ripeness for quality you can taste. Ingredients travel from farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh. And HelloFresh is not just for dinner. In fact, HelloFresh has you covered for every mealtime occasion, from snacks and easy lunches to seasonal celebrations and festive gatherings. Guys, I gotta admit, I love HelloFresh. I tried the meatballs with bulgogi sauce plus roasted carrots, ginger rice, and creamy sriracha. And not only was it surprisingly fun, but it also tasted incredible. Like, they're not lying about restaurant quality. HelloFresh also helps me with the grind of YouTube. I don't have to worry about what I'm gonna eat next, or what I'm gonna prepare, or if I'm gonna order something, because it's all here for me. And it's also stress relieving. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com and use code Zhoniin50 for 50% off, plus your first box ships free. That's code Zhoniin50. Thanks, guys. All For One shoots another laser-like attack that completely destroys Dark Shadow. It hits Hawks and Tokoyami hard, but Hawks protects him and gets much more injured. All For One is impressed with the strength of his own attacks, and he says, "Oh, how good it is to be young." So yeah, All For One is rewinding, as we saw. He's using that experimental Eri derivative thing that Yujiko made. And he's currently like, I don't know, a teenager or college age, or it's really hard to say, but he's not, you know, the age that he was before for sure. And I guess even at this age, he's just super powerful. I mean, I don't know if this is his prime per se, but I guess it's close to it. Kirishima and Shinso worry about them, and Inasa tells everyone to keep attacking, but it's useless. It cuts to a black panel, and then we see that All For One has defeated all the other heroes and is now holding Hawks by the neck. Tokoyami is lying beside him unconscious. So yeah, everyone's pretty much defeated at this point. I'm not even sure if Dark Shadow can be killed. I guess you would have to remove the quirk factor from Tokoyami completely. But speaking of that, All For One says that he wants to steal Tokoyami's quirk and that Hawks should get out of the way because he's done too much already. And then we see that Hawks pierced All For One's chest with his sword, but it didn't do anything. As All For One speaks, small wings grow on his back. So I think this means that All For One just stole Hawks' quirk, right? I mean, we can't see the panels on the page yet, but this is what it sounds like, right? Like, I guess getting stabbed allowed him to get close enough to All For One, and he just took it. So Hawks is, I guess, going to be quirkless from now on, right? And this is also a great way for All For One to be able to go to UA, because once he gets Hawks' quirk, he'll grow the wings, as it says here, and then he could just fly there unimpeded pretty much. And I always kind of felt like Hawks was going to become quirkless or something, or at least just lose his wings completely. I mean, it already kind of felt like that because he's been so nerfed, but I guess this is fitting fate for Hawks. I guess it's supposed to go to the Icarus stuff, but I'd rather he just lose his quirk than die, of course. All For One says it's impressive that Hawks kept fighting even with so little of his quirk factor left. Hawks then angrily comments on how very unfair it is that the number of quirks he has doesn't decrease even though his body is rewinding. When all seems lost, a Mineta ball sticks to All For One's leg. He says that stealing Dark Shadow will only make him an edgy weirdo like Tokoyami, so it would be better for him to steal his pop-off quirk. All For One stares into Mineta's teary eyes and remembers Jiro, another weakling. So yeah, I guess this is going to be like Mineta's ultimate moment in the series, possibly. I really wouldn't be surprised at this point if he has like some big part in the downfall of All For One, for just, you know, why not? All For One then thinks to himself that he cannot waste another second there and flies off. He then sees that the press helicopters are nearby. He mocks the heroes by saying that everyone will see this pathetic view once again. They will see that they couldn't protect anything. Cut to the underground shelters, and the civilians are wondering why they have stopped moving. Natsuo prepares to protect his sister, and his mother and the Masagaki kids are watching the Gunga fight on a tablet. The civilians are losing hope as they see the heroes being cornered. Cut to the command room, and Sukuuchi and La Brava are both confused. She has already regained control of the system, and some blocks are already moving again, but some seem to be locked from the inside. Tajima, one of All For One's spies, thinks to himself that All For One ordered him to follow orders from Skeptic, but he stopped responding. He gets desperate because he knows he'll be in trouble if he doesn't do anything, so he tries to use his quirk, but Gunhead sees it. But it's too late, and some of the parts of the ceiling start to fall. We see that Kendo and Tetsu are in charge of protecting everyone, and they try to block the ceiling from hitting anyone, but Death Arms gets there first and protects the two civilians. He says that he knows what awaits him is a thorny path. That's why he gave up. But seeing the other heroes continue to fight, his body moved on its own, and he started to cry as he remembers Deku running to save Bakugo from the sludge villain. So yeah, Death Arms is back. I know not many were asking for this, but he, like, for some reason decides to retire after the war. I mean, I know it really affected some heroes, but we didn't really see too much of Death Arms. Like, I think the only time he did anything in the war was like when he grabbed that Slide and Go hero who was actually a traitor for the Liberation Front. But yeah, he's back now, so that's cool, I guess. And on the last page, we have another POV change. In Kamino, Shoto is leaning on Ida and says that it's not over yet. And in a building close to them is none other than Stain. End of chapter. Here we go, boys. Stain finally back. I mean, we saw him, what, last year, 2 years ago? I don't really remember the last time we saw him. It was like when he encountered All Might on his statue, and he kind of acknowledged that it was All Might, but at the same time, he was kind of in denial about it because he saw All Might's true form, and, you know, that was fine. I felt like it could have been handled better by Horikoshi, but that's neither here nor there. Stain's finally back, and I do think that he's going to wind up helping the heroes here in order to, you know, stop All For One and Shigaraki, but also this is important because I'm pretty sure this is going to lead to Stain finally confronting Dabi and Toga, because we've needed that since the beginning. Like I said, that's what this video is centered around. 8 years in the making, almost a decade, we've essentially been waiting for this moment, just for Stain to come full circle and to just meet Dabi and Toga, because Dabi and Toga are large in part products of Stain. I mean, I know that it really hasn't been their mission for a very long time now, but still, it's integral to the plot that these characters all meet. And I just hope that Horikoshi just lands this accordingly and it's just not disappointing. That's all I really hope for right now. But let me know what you think about this in the comments, and if you like the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.